I've been playing a fair amount of Gundam Breaker 4 recently, and with the first season of DLCs announcing the addition of the Reborn's Gundam, I figured, why not review the high-grade Build Fighters Reversible Gundam based off it. So, how good is this effectively decade-plus old modified kit? First, the looks. The Reborn's Gundam has always been quite the stylish mobile suit, so already it's looking good. Removing the red parts that reference the gun cannon on the back streamlined the color scheme. But the yellow plastic on the shoulder pads, crotch plate, etc. have numerous complaints about them being terrible and resembling resin parts. Apparently because they are supposed to be. In-universe is due to the creator running out of time to paint them. It may not work for all, but I think it's rather amusing. Just imagine some guy replacing 90% of the master grade Gunpla with resin parts and forgetting to paint the kit, subsequently having to battle using it. Function over form, as they say. However, true function is a shit ton of missiles and guns everywhere. Anyways, now, as expected of these black stripes here, they're stickers. They do the job, but this one over here has sort of peeled quite a fair amount of times, which is annoying. Or it's also misaligned, which this one also has become, because I can't hold the tweezers steady. So, recommendation, paint. Paint if you know how. Now, in terms of nub marks, they aren't that bad. The plastic itself, you can just use your finger to just sort of scrape off the bits and then it will be fairly unnoticeable. The only ones with like some significant chunks would be like on the beam saber holders, but you can't pick it up on camera, but they are noticeable in real life. The seam lines are also obvious due to, of course, the base kit being 15 years old at the time of recording. An example would be this head right over here with this really weird seam line that has sort of still got a split. It's a bit ugly, and I guess the feet can also count, sort of. Overall, it's decent in the current decade aesthetically, but needs work to be perfect like most high grades from the time, like the Jin Custom, or the Jin Cannon 2, or a J-Gun. Speaking of a J-Gun, here's one. Now this one will be relevant later. In terms of accessories, you really only get these two alternate hands for gun cannon mode and this clear beam saber effect. It's the first time I've seen this, but of course painting is required because this is supposed to be orange. Yeah. Now there are 4 GN fangs on the backpack / cannons, which I will talk about when I get to the gun cannon mode. You also get twin shields with the GN handguns attached to them. Now the shields are called battle shields because they also have claws. I'll talk about that more in the gun cannon mode. Speaking of claws, he also has these dragon claw things. Again, cannon mode. And finally, the beam sabers right over here. 2 of them. And you can just slide it in to the hands, and there you go. And here it is with the beam effect. Doesn't look that bad, but I just think maybe you need to paint it because it looks a bit weird. Now this bit right over here is the first of quite a fair amount of stuff that I think is great in concept, but execution is a bit iffy. So you can see right over here, the GN pistol is connected by this bit right over here, so that you can store it behind the arm. It's a neat idea, but does give extra bulk to the arms and just looks fairly off-putting to me. Articulation is what you'd expect of an older high grade. The head is ball jointed for 360 rotation, which might hit the collar, and some tilting side and up down. You have rotations in the arms, but I think all the stuff that's connected to it might make it a tad annoying to maneuver it around. You would also have decent outwards movement if this claw wasn't in the way. Let me just see if I can show it off. Yeah, there we are. You would have this much if the claw part wasn't hitting the backpack cannon booster combo. You have a butterfly joint for some limited wiggle. You also have a 90-degree elbow bend and swivel that gets interrupted by the dragon claws, and the hands are ball jointed for, all that comes with it. You also get a waist swivel. You have a slight ab crunch, but an equally decent arcing back. The front skirts can go out that much for the legs to move out and go out this much, which is, well, I think standard. Butt flap can also move out for rear leg movement as well. Not really seen on high grades. You also get a thigh swivel that's sort of limited, and then the spread itself is really limited. I'd say it's decent for the time, but for something like this, I imagine it to be a bit more dynamic, and if this is all I can do, it's a tad disappointing. No, the knee bend is, well, this deep. Very deep, mostly for a transformation gimmick. And finally, the feet, which has this much ankle pivot, pretty good. Then it goes forward this much, it's only slight, and goes down quite a fair amount. And that is all for articulation. I mean, what else are you expecting? The leg construction of 2010's high grades are really limiting, and so you really just can't do much dynamic posing at all. It's a bit of a shame, but it is what it is, because that's how you did it at that time. Unless you're good at modding, I'd rather just stick to what you have right now. Now on to the cannon mode, which is the less daft of the two alternate modes. I'm pretty sure this is mostly correct. Now I'm just gonna say, the concept is great. Execution is rough. Reminds me of a one-off tokusatsu monster. And I do have some issues with some design choices. The shields become claws, as you can see right over here. Which is nice, but the dragon claws exist, so why have them? Their placement also makes me question their usefulness. Bit too much claw action now, isn't it? The fangs being used as the cannon is neat. I don't have anything else other than it looks daft in a fun way. Tank mode though. No joke, this is tank mode. I don't really need to show the transformation, as it just boils down to the mobile suit sitting down, and then you just flip the butt flap up. I know there's a bit more intricacies in it, but why? This is the laziest transformation ever. You're just sitting the goddamn thing down. God. It's the roughest of the three modes and feels rather forced and unnecessary. To wrap things up, the gimmicks range from pretty good to its removal changes nothing. But this is at its core the reborn Gundam from the 2000s. If you are fine with that and not expecting spectacular stuff, you won't be disappointed. Plus side is you get an extra GN rifle, is what I believe it's called. You also get the original Reborn Gundam's head, well, the alternate one from the cannon mode, and GN drives for customs. Now I am very curious about gluing both of these things onto a Jagan's shoulders, like right over here. That would be quite interesting. But with that, this review is done. I would say I semi-enjoyed it. Well, what do you expect of a decade plus old kid? I hope this was useful, and to see you next time.